Welcome back to the ADR Chat, the podcast that explores the people, the stories, the ideas that shape our beautiful city, Abu Dhabi. Today, I'm joined by Samara Iqbal. She's the founder and the managing partner of Aramas International Lawyers. She is a British-born solicitor with over 20 years of experience in international family law. So, because she specialises in everything from divorce, custody, wills, inheritance, and quite a few complex cross-border complications that people, or expats, especially in Abu Dhabi, might face. In our conversation today, we're actually going to explore common legal challenges that people might face in the UAE. We're also going to talk a little bit about why the Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court is developing into a place that's going to be really helpful to expats in the city. So let's start with the chat. Samara, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you here. So we'll just get into a little bit about your personal story, because I think that's always a really nice way to start. So what, I suppose, inspired you? You're from the UK, right? So what inspired you to move from the UK to our beautiful city, Abu Dhabi?
So I kind of grew up coming to the UAE when I was young, because my father used to work out here. So we would come to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, kind of before it became the place it is now. So I've grown up seeing it kind of develop a lot. So I think I was quite young. I maybe was about 10 when I first came. And I remember thinking, this place is very different. But then over the years, I've been coming and it's changed so much. I always had this thing that I want to live here and work here. It was really weird. And we always, as a family, we were thinking of moving over, but we never did. So it was always just coming across. So I kind of grew up coming a lot with my father, seeing him do business here. So I always liked UAE itself. I liked the kind of atmosphere, the environment. And then about, I would say, maybe 12 years ago, I moved to Dubai officially. I took a job and I lived there. So before it's quite busy now. So it was still busy, but not as busy. But I chose to live there and I was there for quite a few years. And that's when I kind of worked as a legal consultant with a British firm. So she was British and she had a firm and she said, come on, Samara, can you set up a family department? And I said, why not? And then obviously they did wills and inheritance and all of that, which is something I learnt on the job. And I kind of thought, great. And I think she wanted to have me on because she said, you've got that Sharia background, you've studied, you've got the Arabic, you're British. So I think she thought this is going to be good for clients, which I think it was, because when I started, I was like, wow, there was so many expats, all with different legal issues. And back then the system was very different. Obviously it's advanced a lot now. The political systems have changed. Dubai courts changed, Abu Dhabi civil courts come along. So lots happened. But back then it was all just one system, one way. So I was navigating it, learning, going to the court myself. But yeah, I really liked the UAE, but I had a bit of a break. I left Dubai. And then when I came back, I was like, not Dubai this time, Abu Dhabi. I thought I like Abu Dhabi. And also our license is ADGM. So yeah, I liked when ADGM came about as well. I heard about it. And I was really drawn to ADGM and I thought this looks, fantastic. So I could have, for example, done DIFC or Dubai, but I chose ADGM and I chose Abu Dhabi. And I think I just like Abu Dhabi a lot now and it's become home. So yeah, so always been coming here since I was young. So it's nice to kind of see it change so much. And obviously you've been here a while as well.
Yeah, and it really has changed, not just from a building perspective, but even from a laws perspective, which we obviously will get into. Mm-hmm. So you talked about, being fluent in Arabic and, having experience of Sharia law. How do you think that's a multicultural background, right? You've lived in the UK, you've lived here, you can get what clients are talking about, but you can also get what expats are talking about as well. So how do you think that background has helped shaped the way you I don't want to say deal with your clients, but how you help your clients?
I think it really helps because I think when you're here and you talk to expats, the first thing is when they know you're British, it immediately attracts them as well because they know the standard is a certain way. I think that helps. I think when I talk to a British person straight away, they kind of know that I get them, I understand them. Also, my background coming from parents of Indian and Pakistan background, my parents were entrepreneurs in the UK. So I've grown up kind of in Britain, gone through the whole system, had exposure to the Middle East as well. But then I lived in Syria for 4 years and people don't know that.
Wow.
So I lived in Syria back in the day even before I qualified. I was in my 20s and I got an opportunity to study Arabic and Sharia law. So when people say, how do you know that? But given that your parents are not Arab speaking, obviously my parents were like Urdu Punjabi speaking, I got to learn Arabic fluently. So when I speak now, everyone's like, oh, you speak like the Queen's English, but in Arabic. And I got to read, write, do exams and study Sharia law, which is fantastic because obviously you can't do that now. But back then it was like Syria or Egypt. They were like the main places at university. So I managed to do a master's from the University of Winchester, did the 4 years there. And we kind of left just before we started having the problems. So it was just literally we left and we were lucky we got that time there. So I did those 4 years, came back, and that's really helped. So that learning the Arabic. And then when clients would come to me with papers in Arabic or with messages, I'm like, oh, I understand. And I was able to go through it with them. So I think it's like a bit of a mix. It's like you're British, but then you've got the multicultural aspect as well. But then you've got the Sharia Arabic aspect too. So I've managed, and I think it's great. And I'm really fortunate that I've managed to have all of them. I think clients really appreciate that as well. And it really helps with the job. So I'm able to kind of cater for a lot of different nationalities. And I think they like that. So I can always get on someone's level. So that's good, I guess.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I think when you've come to a country where you plan to stay, you don't understand the language necessarily, it can be quite daunting, can't it? So having somebody who can understand it is so much more helpful.
It's hard because when I get clients saying, oh, they only speak in Arabic, can you speak to them? I'm like, great, put me on the phone and I'll speak to them. Or they're only speaking this language, then that's great as well, just having the languages too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think actually, in schools here, they teach them so many different languages. It's fantastic. And I think they really have to stick to it. So, okay, so let's get into a few of the expat concerns sometimes that people have or any practical advice that you can give. So what would you say are the most common legal challenges that expats would face when they're settling in the UAE?
Legal challenges, I don't know. So when they move here, I wouldn't say there's legal challenges. I think it's just they have to get used to kind of being here, living here. And then slowly they start work or the kids start going to school. And then, for example, they've moved over as a family. So a very, very common issue, and I always say whether you're living in any country, whether you're an expat or not, family issues happen all the time. So even during COVID, family law is one of those areas that will never kind of just go quiet. It's always kind of going on. So whether you have children with someone, you're moving, you're relocating, there's a dispute, people, we're human, right? It's human interaction. People, face challenges, right? So somebody might just want advice like, oh, what do I do if I'm not getting on with my wife anymore? What do I do if my husband's being difficult and I've moved here? Or actually, I want to leave, I'm not happy here. So there's all these things. So that's one aspect is like the family law challenges. And then when they've got different things going on in different places. So it might be like, oh, we were married in England, living here, but we actually lived here as well. Because lots of expats move to different places. So we've got something in Singapore. We also lived in Germany for a while. He's also got French background, but we married in England, but we're living in Dubai. So it's like sometimes like a whole landscape of different cultures and different laws that we have to look at. And obviously we're not experts in every single country. So we then have to speak to experts in those countries to see whether we need to obtain some legal advice for them before we make a decision of what we should do next or what is best for them in terms of if they are going to go ahead with any legal procedure. So that's like the family aspect. But for the wills, guardianship, inheritance side, I think families are quite concerned, especially people with young children, like, oh, I've moved here and I have young kids, like, oh, I've heard my wife might not be the automatic guardian, or they'll take them into state care. What happens if something happens to both of us? And obviously those, worries are in parents' heads and someone might say something to them. So there's that probably not a challenge, but that kind of uncertainty. So having someone speak to them and say, look, you can have documents done. You can have guardianship documents done or wills done. That's really comforting for them. So we work with lots of groups in which they will recommend us and we will give free talks and discuss things saying, look, if you buy a property, yes, you can have a will and you should. However, even if you don't have much, you say your company's covering everything, you're not really interested in buying here. You've got kids, you've got children, and they, you're here without family members. Some people do, they're lucky, fortunate, they have, mom and dad here or a sister here. but some people don't. I don't have anyone here.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, everybody's in the UK. So I got my guardianship documents done. So I think that's another area which I like giving advice on, whether they get documents done or not. It's just good knowledge to have. And we talk to lots of families all the time that move here. So I always get invited to talk to families, like relocation events, to say, look, if you move, these are things you should be thinking about. And it's knowledge is power, right? So whether you do them or you don't, it's something that people should know about as well. To say, I'm moving to a country, what do I need to have in place, for example?
And so just off the back of that, I know that a lot of people that I've spoken to in the last few years have talked about getting the guardianship documents done and stuff. A lot of people were saying to me that the cost of them was quite excessive, they felt, or quite expensive. Why? What would be the reason that they are, say, tens of thousands or 2,000 or whatever?
There shouldn't be tens of thousands personally, I'll be honest, but you can get give different, like, how shall I say it? People will charge different rates, right? We're quite competitive, so we're not overly expensive. We're not very cheap either. I think we're quite good, so people are quite happy with our fees. But I have heard, like, some people charge thousands of dollars for a will. I'm like, that's a lot. But I'm not to comment. Maybe that's their fee and that's what people will pay them. But they shouldn't be that much. But then if you get it done once, it should be reasonable. Of course, you can shop around. You do it once. That's it. It's done, right? But of course, it should be affordable. I think they are important documents if you need them. So when I have a couple talking to me, sometimes I might say, well, only you really need the will. She doesn't really need to do one. And he can put all those things in there. But if they need to do mirror wills, people can reduce the price as well. But I think the price of it, you should shop around and you should go where you feel comfortable, somebody's recommended. But, I meet people and they've spent 5 million on a villa. And then when the cost of one will is 5,000 dirhams, it's not a lot considering you spent 5 million on a property. You want to make sure it goes to the people that you want. So in that sense, it's fine, but I don't think they should be that expensive, and they're not. It just depends where you're looking.
And I presume that they wouldn't have different things in them, if that makes sense. Of course, if you've got property, that would be different to somebody who doesn't have a property, for example. But is it just the sheer, the amount of things that you have then would change the way the guardianship is done? Or is it a very sort of similar document for everyone?
When you do a will, you can have a will where you can list out if you have got assets to say, my house and this place should go to so-and-so. You can do that, or you can just have like a blanket will to say, if I pass, all of this should go to my spouse. On my death, and anything happens to her, then all my kids equally. That's quite simple. And my will says the same. My will doesn't specify this company or this house or this. That's it. That means that they will just, when they do the grant of probate, which here is called a succession certificate, they will just list the heirs down. And whether that's your bank accounts, your car, your house, your company, whatever it is that you've got, it will just make sure it goes to those people. So you don't have to it shouldn't matter. But some people may have a lot they want to put in a will. So that could affect the price. But generally, no, they're all quite similar. And then the guardianship, if you need to put temporary guardians and no guardians, yes, it could add. That means there's more drafting. Hence, there could be a more expensive price. But I think the cost of registration matters, because if you're doing it in DIFC, it is a bit more pricier as opposed to the Abu Dhabi civil court. So obviously, that might be something that people get put off by, maybe not the actual price of a lawyer drafting the will. So that also depends as well.
Yeah, okay. So we'll go to the Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court in a bit, because I think that's a really interesting subject. So we talked about guardianships. We talked about the fact that it's important for expats to have wills and inheritance documents in place. What differs from the legal process that, say, a European or a UK or a US expat might feel is different to their country to here? So is there any differences in the legal processes, for example?
There are differences because proceedings here obviously take place in Arabic. So if you are going to end up in a court here, it is going to be in Arabic. They do have an interpreter. They always make sure there's an interpreter at court. That's quite normal because this Arabic is the main language here. So that could be daunting for some people, but they've simplified processes. I think in the UAE, everything is very fast. As opposed to the UK, US, Europe, everything's very, very slow to get a hearing listed. It takes months sometimes to get applications heard, processed. With here, it's boom, boom, boom. They don't tend to, obviously it does depend on judges' availability, but every court's different. So Dubai's quite fast. Abu Dhabi's very fast. So every court is different. The processes are more simplified, I think, here in terms of you have to do this first, then this, then this. So they have their own procedures. I think expats from abroad need to understand that, yes, the proceedings are Arabic mainly with a translator, that they probably will need assistance from a lawyer if they aren't in court for any aspect, that having a will here, it should be registered, as opposed to, for example, in the UK, you don't have to register a will. You can just do one. And a will comes out of the woodworks. Like, where did that come from? You know, and people are emailing me even now like, oh, we have a client. Did you do their will? No. But, you know, it's crazy. But but here you have to do it properly. It has to be registered for them to accept it. You can't just be like, oh, my brother passed away. Here's his will. They're like, well, where did you register it? It's not been notarized. It's not attested. It's not done properly. So the great thing here is they have a system for everything. It has to be done. It has to be notarized, even if it's a power of attorney. If you're at court, it's faster. It's probably different. That's why legal advice is key. Even if you don't instruct a lawyer, get the advice, find out what happens, find out do you need a will? Yes, I do. No, I don't. You might not even need one. Typical questions I get is, oh, I already have a will. Can I not just use that here? Not really. I already have this in place. Do I need this here? Get the advice. You want to end your marriage, you want to move, you want to do anything about your children, get the advice. You've been divorced elsewhere, but you've got financial stuff that you need to deal with here. We do a lot of enforcement. So you get lots of people saying, oh, I divorced him in Germany and he's got assets in Dubai. He's not passing over. And I bring this German court order over to Dubai courts. And can you enforce? Can I mirror a Children Act order from the English courts over here? Very, very normal things. So there's quite a lot that people need to understand that it's not the same. But getting legal advice is important. It is fast here once it goes through. There is discretion applied, obviously, with some judges, but generally the procedures, we try to make them as simple and straightforward. Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court, we'll talk about them. They're very, very fast, very swift, and they have their own processes, which has been great for expats. And that's why that court was essentially created. So yeah, I think expats just need to understand that is different. If you get legal advice, you've understood what's going on, it's not that hard to navigate, to be honest.
So are there any misconceptions that the expat community have about the UAE legal system?
The only misconception I can think of is probably some women probably thinking, oh, if something happens to me in the UAE, maybe it's more favourable for the men. Hence, I might not get a good deal. It might not be fair. And I think that kind of gets spread in the media sometimes. But what I will say is, if anything, I think the UAE system for women is very fair. Especially if they're married with children and they've obviously been married for a while, there's quite a lot of financial claims. The husband or the father has to make sure that he covers. But I think generally it's men that kind of end up saying, oh my God, what's going on here? Why do I have to cover so many things? I think that's the big misconception. I think if women, once they get legal advice and they understand how the courts work here, what financial options they do have if they were to go to court, the first thing they're scared of is custody, for example. It's not like that. So the UAE is quite advanced now. So I think once they get that legal advice, I think that's probably for me the biggest thing that I see in the media or in people saying to me like, oh, I've heard they'll take my children. I've heard this. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Just need to understand the rules. So I think that's probably a big misconception out there.
Okay, so let's talk about the Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court, because that's a new development in Abu Dhabi. How long has that been around?
In a couple of years now, I think 3 to 4 years. I think 3 to 4 years, and it's really, really been a game changer.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about it, because I think a lot of people will be unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, it's weird because some people don't know about it. So we promote it quite a lot. So it's one of those courts that have come around, which has kind of said we're a civil family court. So we don't want to really go into religion of who's married who or who's marrying who or who's divorcing, what religion you are basically. So civil means there's no religion mentioned. You need to you can use this court, you can get married, you can get divorced, you can get financial orders, you can draft wills. They've really, really changed the whole sphere of things. So there's no kind of Muslim, non-Muslim aspect to it. So it's great. And I think that's really changed things because they have simplified the process a lot. They have made it completely civil. And I think that's just been in the region a big thing because it's really led the way to lots of other countries looking and thinking, oh, wow, we should have that. But Abu Dhabi is kind of far ahead and they've done that. And I think more and more people that come to the UAE have contacted us and continue to contact us saying, I want to use this court. So it really attracts lots of expats, even high net worth, ultra high net worth families saying, we want to divorce here. We want to get married here. We want to have a prenup done. So it's fantastic. So we are one of the foreign law firms recognized by the court, have permission to represent clients there, which is fantastic as well, which means that that's also helped clients think, oh, I can have my lawyer to represent me instead of someone else. So that's fantastic. They've allowed us that opportunity. So I think other courts don't do that.
Yeah, okay. So the type of cases that you see there, so you said people can get married there now, you can get divorced there, you can, what other things?
So for example, you can get married quite quickly. So they're very, very, I think thousands get married there all the time. So it's very easy and fast. And a lot of people do it themselves. We get contacted a lot for the prenuptial agreements and marriages. So we process that. We do that quite quickly for them. They love that. So people fly in to get married there. So it's not just residents. Lots of non-residents come in. So we get calls every week saying, hi, I'm in Qatar, I'm in Germany, I'm in this country, I want to fly into Abu Dhabi. And you can get married even as visitors. So they've made it quite easy for non-residents to get married. Then you've got the divorce system, and it's a no-fault divorce as well, which is great. That means it's civil. It's no fault. You can't really give reasons. So even if someone's divorcing you, you kind of going to be like, well, I don't like that because that's not true. It doesn't matter. It's a no-fault system. It's done quite fast. And within a couple of weeks, you're divorced. Instead of dragging it on like other countries do and then having it drawn out, they like to do the divorce first. And then if you can reach in a financial agreement, great, file it. If not, the court's there to assist. An application can be made. And it's joint custody, so it's automatic in Abu Dhabi Civil Family Court. That means that automatically it's joint. That just means decisions should be made by both parents. Both have equal responsibility, but the living arrangements, the time spent with children, etc., can all be agreed by that family or by those parents, which is great. So it gives them an opportunity as well to reach those agreements either through themselves, through lawyers, through mediation, whatever they want to do. So I like the process a lot. I think it's fast, it's structured, it's quite clear. And I think most people do reach an agreement. Unfortunately, there is instances where cases do get filed because maybe the wife thinks that husband is hiding money and the agreement he's proposed to her is not fair because she's not really been dealing with the financials. She doesn't know much. And then she files the case and then that's fine. And then there's a system at court where all of this can be looked at and a financial expert can get involved and see what there is and make a fair financial agreement. It's really good and it's really clear.
That's actually wonderful for a lot of women here.
And
actually.
Asha, it's fast. Like people in England, and I'm doing it now. It's been going on for 3-4 years. I'm still doing the divorce, but the financial side, divorce still isn't finalized. They've moved on. They just want to finish. But again, it's delays. It's this. I'll have this. Do this. We need this. Here, it's just kind of like boom, boom, boom. Like a couple of months, it should be done. I haven't seen a case go on for that long, which is what people want. They want closure. They want to move on. They want a decision made. And that's what I like here is the speed of things, but also they're quite clear and they look at everything. So it's not like, oh, it's just done like that. So it is quite fast. And I think that's really good for families going through a process as well.
What about in the event of a death, for example? But sometimes it goes through systems where you don't actually get a death certificate until it's decided how that person passed away.
You mean like an autopsy?
That's the one. In the event of a death, like how does that work in the UAE? Because is that something that would go through civil? Is that something that would just go through?
So it depends where the person's passed away. But first thing is a death certificate has to be issued. So once they've worked out, and they don't take that long here getting a death certificate. So once they've worked out how that person's passed away, so if they've passed in their sleep or something happened, the death certificate's issued. Once that's done, if there's a will, that kind of comes out and then a grant of probate, which is succession certificate, would get issued with all the beneficiaries. If there is a will, there isn't a will. And then that essentially then goes to the family members that are left. So if it's, a man and he's got children or a wife, those are his heirs. And then whatever he's got in the UAE, kind of there's a list. So if there's a bank account, there's a car, and maybe there's a business, or maybe he had just a job. All of those people have to be notified. And then just like the UK, you have to go to the executor, the person who's responsible for administering your estate, whether it's your lawyer or your friend or your wife. They would be the ones in charge of going and dealing with that. So going to the bank and producing the death certificate, producing this succession certificate and saying, look, these are the heirs. And this person's got 1 million dirhams, for example, in his account. Okay, so his wife and children are going to get it in these shares, for example, or his wife's getting it absolutely as per his will. Then that money just gets transferred to her from the bank. And then if there's something else, if there's a house, then it was 50-50 with him and his wife, and he wrote a will. So anything happens to me, that 50% goes to her first. Then they will, again, land departments will then process that to her. So it's just, again, can take some months, but it's, again, the succession certificates issued really quickly, much faster than the UK. And things get done quite quickly as long as you've got your documents in place. And obviously you can contact a lawyer, they can advise you what to do, they can assist. But if you are a son sat in the UK, for example, and father's passed away in Dubai, then you can just contact a lawyer, give them a power of attorney, and they can do it for you and get your bank details, get whatever there is, find out what there is, check the processes. And that's great as well. So it is pretty fast here, but it's quite normal here. We get phone calls, emails all the time saying, hi, my dad's passed away. He had something in Dubai, or he was living there and we don't know what that is. We just have a clue that it was that bank, or we have he had a car and he had something else, and then we'll deal with it.
Let's have a look at some, I don't know, I'll call them trending topics, because I think there's a lot of things that people talk about on a daily basis. But have you noticed any new trends recently of cases or questions that you're dealing with more in Abu Dhabi?
Not really. I think mostly it's just people saying, should I get divorced here? Should I do it somewhere else? What happens? Can she just take my children away from me? How can I stop them? Is there processes in place? Do I need a will? What happens if I don't pass away without a will? I mean, it's the same kind of questions, to be honest. I wouldn't say there's any trends. There is, obviously people getting married here, people not being married, having children here. That's quite a trend, because now they've allowed you to kind of have a baby here without being married. So that's probably quite a new thing that us and the courts are working on. I think that's probably a new thing. So recently, in the last few years, they've changed the laws. So that's been a new thing. People asking lots of questions because it's like a newer area. So we're all kind of like working out what the system is, what's happening. So I think that's probably not a trend, but maybe a new thing. And it's great because they've allowed that. Again, just showing that they're advancing and they're working towards making sure, expats can come here. Not everyone is going to be married, and you may have a child with someone. Can you reach an agreement? Can it be filed with the court? If you're splitting up, can you still have an agreement without going through a divorce, without a marriage certificate? So all of these things the courts are working on and have got processes in place, but people don't know. I think that's probably one area that's quite new, that people constantly now ask questions on, like, what happens if I move here as well and I'm not married?
Yeah.
Like, what rights do I have as a father or as a mother? Can I do this? Can I still do this? So it's just, so again, I think that's quite a new thing.
There's a myth, isn't there, that, well, no, it wasn't a myth a long time ago, but now it's like, I have no rights, but actually you do. And
you do.
Okay.
I think everybody has got rights. I think it's just getting that advice, knowing who to go to a trusted person, get that advice early. And then at least, I always say to people, get the advice, get the consultation. And then after that, you'll know what you've got, whether you move forward and split up with your spouse or you don't, or whatever happens, at least you've had the advice. And sometimes a lot of it can be handled between yourselves. You don't really need lawyers unless it's really difficult to communicate with your spouse. A lot of people just reach agreements themselves, and we just kind of file them at court as well, which is great, which I prefer. Sometimes it just takes us out of the stress as well that's going through. So, I had a lady ring me last week, like, oh, he's filed in Abu Dhabi, I've agreed, I do want to reach an agreement with him. And we were like, okay, well, why don't you try and reach an agreement, come back to us. We don't have to be involved unless you can't speak to him and you want us to kind of go forward and do that. But there is families that they can't communicate. It's really difficult. It's really tense. They can't talk. And we have to get involved. So either or.
I do think it's good to know that there are firms and people here that can help, because I think even if I was going through something, having lived here so long, but I've never really looked into like the nitty gritty of everything. So I think I would probably instruct a lawyer just to kind of at least help me where I am, just in that moment.
But even a second opinion sometimes. So I get people asking me saying, oh, I've spoken to a lawyer, he said this or she said this. And it's like, that advice is correct. Sometimes they want that second opinion. Sometimes they have an unusual circumstances and you don't really have the answer all the time. And then we have, I had a lady ring me last week from the States. She said, my brother and his wife are in prison for drinking and negligent behavior. And I've come out and I'm looking after the children. Can I get a temporary custody order? Can I get this? what can I do? Can I file something at court? And just get different situations. You're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Let me find out for you. Let's see what we can do. So I'm always like, I love the new kind of challenges that expats bring as well. So when I get a new question, I'm like, oh yeah, let's learn about this. Let's learn, what can we do? Is there an option? Which court's best for you? What could you do? Can you actually do it in Dubai? Could you use the Abu Dhabi court? So it's just we're learning as well constantly, which is great. Yeah.
I think when someone's asked a question, it's potentially going to come up again at some point. So
exactly,
it's good for you for that. Yeah. So one thing I did want to ask you is, like, now so many expats are like investing in property. Like, people are just buying up wherever they can because we're able to. What are the legal considerations that people should keep in mind when it comes to property? I think that's a real hot topic at the moment.
I think with property now, obviously there's so many off-plan, there's so many ready to buy properties. It's constantly the UAE is developing properties and they want expats to buy. Again, if you're going to buy a property, make sure you go to a trusted agent. So obviously some people unfortunately get scammed by people, that's the right word maybe, or tricked. So just be careful. Make sure you get good advice initially. Shop around, speak to a couple of agents, see who you like, look at where you want to live. Get good advice. Once you go ahead and you're going to get a mortgage, for example, speak to some good mortgage providers, make sure that they've been recommended, and then they will help you. They will help you get that property. And then they will also say you need a will, for example, or you need this in place. So just speaking to the right kind of network, making sure that you've got the advice, and then, going ahead and spending that kind of money because people sometimes don't live here, but they still invest and buy. So we do get connections as well, asking us, like, asking me as a lawyer, like, who do you trust? So I will put forward my recommendations as well. I think just making sure you've got the right people, you've done your research and you've got your documents in order, and that you have all the things like insurance and wills and anything else that you need to do when you get that property. So I think that's probably what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of steps going through it, to be honest. Okay, so one thing that we've noticed a lot is like the rising costs here. Salaries are not going up necessarily, but rates are going up, shopping's going up, all of the, rents are quite high at the moment. So there's always, in sort of family law cases, financial settlements. How does it work here, especially for couples or families that have got assets in different countries? We kind of touched on the subject before because you said, somebody might have been brought up in France and then come back to the UAE and then gone somewhere else. But say, for example, I've got a property here and I've got a property in France and a property in the UK. How does that work when it comes to, sorry, husband, we're not splitting up, but say, for example, that was the case. How would that work in terms of setting? Can you do that all from here? I know you talked about not necessarily knowing the laws in other countries, but how would that work for someone?
So you could have an agreed settlement, for example, done in the courts here, whether it's Dubai or Abu Dhabi, mentioning all the properties, for example. So having like the portfolio of assets, or whether whichever 4 or 5 countries it's in, or 2 countries it's in, having that kind of in an agreement. And that agreement is quite a full agreement. So everything can be in there to say, we will sell our villa in Spain and split the proceeds between us. I will transfer the equity from this company here to you. I will do this. This account will be closed and split between us. I will retain that. You will retain this. All of that is quite important. So I think that can be done. It's just working out which jurisdiction would be better for them. So some people, if all the assets, for example, are in the UK, sometimes the UK would be better for them to deal with it. There's not really anything here. So we would recommend the UK and we deal with that. But if a lot of it is abroad and we've got that cross-border advice where we kind of know that it can be done here without kind of having something done separately in France, for example, then we will get that advice and then we'll put it into or incorporate into an agreement here. I think a lot of it can be dealt with agreements here, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's as long as they've agreed on it. But what we don't want, and it happens, is lots of cases being filed everywhere. So he wants to buy, for example, Abu Dhabi. She's American and she's gone and filed in France because that's where he's from. And then he then goes file somewhere else as well. And it's like, oh gosh, like he filed so many cases and they're all open.
Why would they do that? Because it benefits them better in another country.
Maybe the wife sometimes thinks that France would be better for me because it's more fairer. She has a gain. a misconception of Dubai courts or Abu Dhabi courts. So it's just then trying to agree and say, look, do we really need all these cases open? Can we just agree to one forum or one place? So sometimes we have to then withdraw one set of proceedings and agree somewhere else. So that happens a lot and it gets messy. And then you're paying different sets of lawyers everywhere just to settle and agree. It's just, it gets messy. So unfortunately it happens.
Yeah, I can imagine that. It's okay. Again, husband, we're not going anywhere. So let's talk a little bit about you, because when I was reading your profile, your bio, it said that you're one of only 2 expat lawyers ranked in the Chambers High Net Worth Guide 2025. Okay, first of all, what does that mean? Because somebody who took one law module when I was at university and decided it wasn't for me. What does that mean?
So Chambers and Legal 500 and places like that, they are, I would say, like researchers. So they kind of research, interview, look into cases you've done, people that you've worked with, lawyers, the work that you've done, and they kind of spend like a year or 2 years researching you and your firm or the cases that you've done, and then they kind of give you a ranking. Now, this ranking obviously is helpful because then it's not just you saying, oh, I'm good, or my client said I'm good, I've got a 5-star review on Google. It's them saying, actually, we've researched and this person is really good in this department. So whichever department, so your department gets ranked, or you get ranked as well as an individual. So being ranked as one with the Dubai expertise or UAE expertise was great because it just shows, we've researched that you are an expert and you are someone that has been ranked, and you've been, lots of people, lawyers and other people have said that. So I think that's helpful. It's quite good. Yeah, it's nice. It's good recognition, I think. It just makes you feel, to some people, they don't care. They're like, we don't really care if someone ranks us or not. We're quite happy. But I think it's a nice recognition as well to say, it's not just me saying it, someone else has said it as well, which just also brings you up a certain level as well, because then your peers and other professionals think, so she's been ranked or they've been ranked. So it gives you more credibility as well.
Must feel like all the hours you've put in have been worth it, right?
Yeah, it just gives you just feel a bit more proud, like, okay, I'm glad it's kind of, someone's confirmed it, or we're going in the right way, we're working hard. So I think it's just nice, isn't it?
Yeah, recognition is the 100% the word, right?
If you don't get it, you're still going to do it. But if you get it, great. It's like a pat on the back saying, you're doing well. It's nice. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that is a great pat on the back, to be honest. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, we've got a few more minutes, so we can talk a little bit about what do you see, or how do you see international family law developing in Abu Dhabi? Like, what do you see coming up?
I think already it's so advanced, and like I said, the process is a lot more simpler. There's more and more attention that's going towards the Abu Dhabi civil family courts. I think they're allowing, for example, Muslims to do wills now. That wasn't allowed before. So I think just lots and lots of changes are happening, and I think it probably just going to grow. As more and more expats are coming into the region, they will really adapt and grow a bit more, and make things easier, make things more kind of streamlined. So all I can see, as you've got more international families coming here, the civil family court is only going to just grow or get better than what it is. So it's already kind of leading the way anyway. So I think just improving, adapting. It's great because sometimes we'll give feedback as well, and they'll listen, saying, okay. So I think that's great. So all I can see is growing. And then, like I said, like as challenges come or new situations come, we get presented with them, the court does. And if anything, we then discuss like, how can we improve the situation? So I think, just constant consultations, working on things, reports, what can be improved, laws can there be, the law drafting, can we change it? Can we make it better? I think they're constantly working on it. So that's great.
And so for all these expats families that are coming in, what would be your one piece of advice for them moving here?
I think move here, but look into, when people move, they just think, where am I going to live with school? Where I'm going to stay. But also when you get here, so getting over is one thing, settling in, getting the children in school if they're going to school, or settling into a new job or your new place that you're going to live, making friends. There's all these things. You kind of left an environment that you're used to, move somewhere else. But then I think once you're here, and you make friends or you're settled in slightly, then just, slowly just find out, is there things that I can do or put in place for my family such as a will or a guardianship document, just have that boxed off. Some people are so good. They're just on it. Ding, ding, ding. Like I had a call yesterday. It was like, I'm here for the next 5 years. I've been told this. I want it in place right now. You get other families. Oh, I've been here for 20 years, never done a will. I should do one. So everybody is different. And when something happens, then they have to do it. Then it's too late sometimes. So I would say get some advice early on. Draft your wills or guardianship documents if you need them. Obviously, we'll tell you if you don't need them, but it's quite good to have them. And also just any other advice when you're buying a property. Do you need to have anything in place? Whether the marriage isn't working, whatever it is, always seek legal advice. Just early on. It's key.
Okay, good advice there. All right, so let's mix it up a little bit. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your go-to spot in the city when you want to switch off from work?
Okay, yeah, there's quite a few nice places. I love the Corniche area. I love going for a walk there. I like some of the restaurants around there. So I like kind of that area, the Marina Mall. I also like, do you know Alcana area? Yeah, I love going there. They've got some nice restaurants.
Have you been on the Abra?
No.
Oh, okay. When it gets a little bit cooler.
I will.
I think they start it from 4 p.m.
I've not seen it, but maybe it's there.
They've got these little pier walks. I don't know what you want to call them. But
is it down there?
Yeah, it's literally on the river. You go on there and you can hook up your phone if you want music as you're going. It takes you all the way up to see the mosque and then back again. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I will go on it. But I like Alcana area. I love some of the restaurants there. I love going for a coffee at Saddle House. That's in the Bateen area near the marina. I like that area. It's just peaceful with the boats and stuff. So I do like that area too, yeah. And I like going to the mosque as well sometimes. It's breathtaking. I think every time you go, it's lovely. And I get to see it when someone comes as well. They're like, oh, show me the mosque. I was like, yeah, let's go.
That's actually a good thing because I lived in London for so many years and there were so many places I didn't go to. And then now when I moved here, there were so many places I still didn't go to, but it was other people that came.
I know, but there's so many nice areas here because more and more people are like, oh, I live here, I live there. And you're like, oh, okay. And you explore that area. Like, it's so nice. So many areas.
It's developing at a speed of light.
And I love Sadia. Yeah. So I love going to the beach there. I love going for a walk there on the Mumsha beach. I love just going around as well. I've got friends there. So yeah, Sadia is lovely.
Sadia Nights, have you done a concert there yet?
Really nice.
What an amazing venue that is. Okay, if you weren't a lawyer, what would your career have been?
I think I would have been a good journalist. So just as much as I like dealing with clients, I think something with human interaction. So I think asking questions, researching, interviewing people. So similar to you, or even like a teacher or something where I'm dealing with people. I don't think I could be stuck somewhere where I'm not interacting with anyone. So like learning, developing, working with people, challenging myself. So yeah, journalist, teacher, I think they're good.
You're a very personable person. So I think.
Yeah, I like that. I like to connect with people. I like to know my clients, understand them, have them trust me, and build that rapport, build that relationship. I think it's important. That's what a good lawyer is, someone that builds relationships with their clients.
Absolutely. For sure. Your client needs that as well. Okay, quick fire. Desert or beach?
Beach, because I can take my children.
Arabic coffee or English tea?
I have to say English tea. I always order English breakfast tea.
Cold milk or hot milk?
I don't know, I do both. But I like hot. But I like cold as well. Yeah. But I've not got a preference. But I love an afternoon tea.
Oh, yes.
In a nice hotel with a nice view.
Yes. I love an afternoon tea. So I think I could probably know the answer to this one. City life or quiet escape?
I think more of a quiet escape if I can, because I can recharge and just like read a book and just like not have to deal with the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. No, I get that. Although I'm such a city girl.
I know. But when I go away, I like to kind of just be somewhere quiet. Nice hotel, nice beach, somewhere quiet. Not like when I was younger, I think the city thing. But now when you have children, you really appreciate a bit of quiet.
And you've got 3. So. All right. Well, Samara, thank you so much for joining me today and some really valuable insights in there as well. I think a lot of the expats are going to take some comfort in knowing that things have changed quite dramatically, especially in the last 13 years that I've been here. So it's really good to see that there's like clear pathways for people and that your company is there to also help and guide them along the way as well.
And it's great what you're doing as well with the review, because it's looking at what's changing, what's developing, what is there, especially in Abu Dhabi itself. And I think Abu Dhabi doesn't get as much focus and spotlight as probably Dubai does. And now I'm at Abu Dhabi and I'm like, this is the place, you have to, I don't criticize Dubai, I love Dubai too, but there's so much in Abu Dhabi that we need, where we should be proud of.
It really is. And, like you said, I've seen it grow and I want to tell people about it. And that was the whole premise of Abu Dhabi Review. And the ADR Chat is a branch of that, because what we want to do is showcase Abu Dhabi companies like yourselves, people in Abu Dhabi who are doing amazing things, and helping the rest of us to live a wonderful life here. So that's been a really important thing. So thank you. That's very kind of you to say. But if anybody would like to learn more about Samara and her team, we're going to put all the links to websites, social, underneath in the captions and everywhere else this is going to go.
Just as much as I'm probably out there, my team's brilliant as well. We're all just kind of really focused on helping people, giving the right advice. If they do reach out, they're more than welcome to have a chat with me. And, we like, for example, for a will, we just say to people, just have a chat. You don't need to commit to anything. We don't kind of even charge to have a talk. Let's talk about what you need. And if we need to do something, we can probably give you a quote if we have to. So it's just being reachable, contactable. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. People can WhatsApp message. It's really, really easy now because people want easy ways to talk to you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no one was like sending emails all the time. So we're quite easily reached, and all our details are on the website as well.
Great. Okay. So we'll put all of those details down underneath the podcast and the video. And that's it for today's episode of the ADR Chat. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get future chats too. And also give Abu Dhabi Review a follow. We've got some amazing things coming up, including the Community Champions Awards 2025. So these are awards for people in the city who are doing amazing things, and we want to celebrate them. So until the next time, see you later.